But yeah, like school is so like no matter what people try to
I
argue,
hate
schools are
public
just modern
school.
day prisons.
It's like this, Damien, okay? Um, if the public school system has not fixed itself by the time I am a parent, I will not be sending my kids to public school. I will be homeschooling them. I'm not sending them to an indoctrination prison camp. It's literally a wrong thing camp. Okay? If you have certain ideologies, they'll suspend you. If you have a politically incorrect ideology, they'll suspend you. They'll punish you. I know that I'm gonna get canceled for this, Damien. The only flag that should be flown in a school is the American flag. And I'm talking in American school, okay? Like other countries, have your country's flag flown into school. Your own country's flag is the only flag that should be flown in a school. Okay?
Oh,
None
that's
of
gonna
this
hurt.
pride
Ouch.
flag, none of the... And as a minority, okay, I gotta point this out because people are gonna call me a white supremacist if I don't. I actually support people who fly the rebel flag. Do you know why? Because it's not a symbol of hatred and racism. It's actually a symbol that if your government does something you disagree with, you have the right to rebel. We are a free nation. That's what the Dixie flag represents. It does not represent the Confederacy and the Federation and slavery. It represents the ability of the people to rebel against an unlawful, unjust, unconstitutional government, which we are currently seeing right now with Biden's constant attack on our Second Amendment. And a lot of people are going to be like, dang, how does an 18-year-old know this much? I paid attention in civics class. You probably should too. Schools are a place to learn, not to be politically indoctrinated and to be told that if you're not, like, if you're straight, you're a horrible person, or if you're white, you're a horrible person, okay? Now, I think my state did a good job about this, okay? Because they allowed students to bring their own like pride flag or whatever, right? Which again, I am not inclined to support because I am a Christian. However, I don't hate. Okay, and I know that sounds crazy, right? But you know, God preached the word of love, not hatred.
You know, because that's when they're more of a teenage and they can start actually thinking for themselves.
Oh, can I be the one to talk about the
Yes.
listen, can I be the one to talk about the quote unquote don't say gay bill? Can I talk about this real quick? So I want to be the one to talk about this because I actually know what I'm talking about this. Sorry, Damien, not to like insult your intelligence. I just
It's
know a little
alright.
bit more than you do about this. So it's actually not called the Don't Say Gay Bill, it's called the Parents' Rights and Education Bill. And what that does is it prevents teachers from talking about sexual orientation in any way, shape, or form, I believe, up to third grade, like through third grade, I believe. So in any way,
As it
shape, or
should be.
form, sexual orientation is not to be taught to anyone below 4th grade in the state of Florida. Now keep in mind, it's not the Don't Say Gay bill, because you're not allowed to talk about heterosexuality either. You can't talk about homosexuality, you can't talk about heterosexuality. It's both ways. It's not just don't say gay, it's also don't say straight.
But that's the thing. It was
But the
like okay,
LGBT community, listen, okay. Groomer is quote unquote an LGBT slur. I'll tell you why they're making it, or why they're saying it's a slur. They're saying it's a slur
because it's the
because it's
facts.
true. They say it's a
Exactly, they're
slur
getting
because
hurt.
it's true. And if it wasn't true, you wouldn't be saying that it's a slur. Now listen, I'm not going to insult the intelligence of black people, okay? But when they first started saying it was a slur, right? Like back in the 40s and 50s, okay, when they were first starting to complain about it. This is still when they had limited access to education, so they were what was considered ignorant.
That's
Therefore,
ignorant.
therefore, that word is still applied. That word applies to anybody who is ignorant, not just black people, okay? I do not believe in the concept of racial slurs. I believe in the concept of stereotypes, albeit they might be bad stereotypes, but I don't believe in the concept of racial slurs. Because I believe we are all equal, we are all created equally under God. So, yeah, it's pretty stupid. People are griefing on Christmas Day, man. Yep. Yep. Apparently they can't handle facts. They were spewing all this BLM nonsense, and I kept telling them the truth of everything, and they didn't like that too much, so they both blocked me. I mean, it's just like, the facts are that every single person that BLM is trying to get quote-unquote justice for was a criminal. Breonna Taylor was harboring a felon, a convicted felon with another warrant, and said felon was armed. And she got caught in the crossfire. Not the cops' fault. Or what about Rayshard Brooks? He tried to kill 2 cops, and they shot him between the eyes in self-defense. Not the cops' fault that someone tried to kill them. And George Floyd, he overdosed. He was speedballing and he died from it. Speedballing is very hard on your heart. And the I can't breathe thing, it wasn't from the cops putting their knee on his neck. It was just because he overdosed. Because it wasn't even over his windpipe. It's just kind of irritating. Because they both called me a white supremacist, and for some reason that makes me sexist as well. And it's just word of mouth. They were just calling me that, and I'm like, y'all make no sense. I just told them they make literally 0 sense. And it was funny. I laughed in their faces over it. It was pretty funny. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Like, apparently the truth makes me a white supremacist, bro. See, here's what I don't get, right? Here's what I don't get, Caleb. Why is the truth considered racism, sexism, homophobia, all that stuff, but their lies are seen as okay? And as I said, Caleb, why do we have Pride Month when the people who go overseas fight and die, they barely get anything? They get 1 day of recognition and maybe 2 different chains across the entire country will give them discounts. And I'm talking big chains, you know. But we have Pride Month for people who scream homophobia, sexism, but they openly say they hate straight white men, which is not only sexist, not only racist, but they say they hate straight people, so that's also heterophobic. But what do I know, right? I'm just a logical thinking human being. Oh yeah, also, I like how, I like how Nina was telling me, before she blocked me, she told me that I need to wear a mask and I need to take COVID seriously. Why am I gonna take something seriously when I had mono earlier this year? Okay, Caleb? I had mono during allergy season while my sinuses were acting up. I had a sinus infection. And believe me, that could have killed me. I have asthma, so that could have killed me, but it didn't. Do they really think that coronavirus is gonna kill me? Do they really think coronavirus is that dangerous? Because let me put it this way, Caleb. If coronavirus was as contagious and as deadly as it is, then we would already be dead. If it was as bad as the media makes it out to be, we would already be dead. But we're not. We're still standing. It's just people feeding into the media. That's the only reason why we have to deal with this crap. It really is. Because people feed into media lies way too much. That's why there's people out here doing things like what happened to 5-year-old Cannon Hennons. That's why there's people out there killing children because they're white. That's the only reason that children are being killed right now. And people from Black Lives Matter are doing it. But they do it, and they claim to do it because they're fighting for justice. You're not fighting for justice by killing a 5-year-old. What did the 5-year-old do to them? They don't like being called terrorists, but yet they're funded by a convicted terrorist with illegal, unmarked, unregistered AR-15s. But they're not even good AR-15s. They're 22 LR conversions. Oh yeah, and Bree also told me that it's not like the Nazis and like Hitler and like Stalin. Then what is it like? Because the only other group that I can think of right off the top of my head that hated one group because they were one way is the Ku Klux Klan. But as we all know, the KKK is not prominent at all in modern day America. You'll get gunned down in the street if you said that you were part of the KKK. But people still like to say that it's such a big thing. Oh yeah, and also, I have something very funny that I always say when people like Nino and Bree call me a white supremacist. I'm not mad that they think I'm a white supremacist, because I'm not. I have nothing to be ashamed of if I'm not. If you're not racist, if you're not a white supremacist, you have nothing to fear, you have nothing to be ashamed of. You have no reason to not like what they're saying if it's not true. But then you turn around and call them what they call you, and they freak out about it and call you racist and all that stuff because they know it's true. Oh, and Caleb, another thing. I love how all these people like Bree and Nino are also saying that Biden didn't cheat the election, but they get really offended and really mad when you call it out and when you bring up the fact that Trump was ahead the whole time, and magically at the exact same time, Biden's votes had a impossible spike, had a statistically, logically, and literally impossible turnout. Because you have, okay, you know what the normal graphs look like, right? Like think of the stock market with a graph, and you notice how nothing ever goes straight up on the stock market. Nothing ever just like skyrockets straight up. Biden's votes did, and there were people who were born in the early 1800s who supposedly voted. Now, taking all of this into account, why are they so scared of an investigation if they didn't cheat? If they didn't cheat the election, then they should be welcoming an investigation to prove people like to prove to people like me who think they did to prove us wrong. You think they'd welcome an investigation to prove us wrong, but they're afraid of one. And that goes back to my point earlier. You can call me a racist, a white supremacist all you want. I'm not gonna get offended because I'm not. If I was a white supremacist and I was trying to hide it, then yeah, I throw a hissy fit and I get offended, but I'm not racist, I'm not a white supremacist. So I'm not gonna throw a hissy fit over it. Unlike Nino and Bree, when you call them a racist, they throw a hissy fit and they just point the finger back at you.